When done correctly, there's nothing quite like the professional wrestling tournament. It's a spectacle. It has drama. It's really such an engaging, unique event. And when done wrong, well, it devalues wrestlers and upsets fans.
And sometimes wrestling tournaments don't make any sense, sometimes by design and other times as a result of poor planning or other chicanery.
And that brings us to why we are here today at Special Guest Referee. Myself and Tim are doing an entire series on the best, worst, and weirdest professional wrestling tournaments.
And with King of the Ring wrapping up, why not look at the Regal showcase that WWFE has never quite known what to do with?
But before you do that, why don't you subscribe to this channel, Special Guest Referee, if you're so inclined to. Like, subscribe, share, all of that fun stuff. But it's time to talk about King of the Ring. Is it one of the best, one of the worst, or one of the weirdest wrestling tournaments? You know, I think one of the questions that comes to my mind is, when you think about WWEF's King of the Ring, what are some of the moments that come to your mind, Tim?
Well, of course, I remember the first one, 1993, with Bret Hart winning. And then I do remember Owen Hart winning. And I remember The Rock getting to the finals of one, but not winning. Other than that, it's kind of all murky.
He's got to take 4 men down to be the champion. That's why it's called King of the Ring.
There's also quite a bit you don't necessarily remember about King of the Ring. I mean, the 2000 King of the Ring might as well have been a precursor to WWE Speed. You have Triple H being in 2 King of the Ring quarterfinals matches in 97s, including a ridiculous match against Crush that went way too long. And the less said about Baron Corbin winning King of the Ring when he was in a triple threat match in the tournament against Samoa Joe and Ricochet is just, the less said about that, the better.
Yeah, WWFE has never known what to do with the King of the Ring. Let's just look at the history of it.
So it begins in 1985. With it used as sort of this prop for house shows. They would do a King of the Ring event and help sell some tickets. It was kind of an interesting idea as far as making house shows seem more special. A lot of those early winners, I think Don Morocco won the first one. Harley Race would win King of the Ring, and then of course he becomes king because, well, Vince McMahon probably wanted to embarrass him by making him wear a crown and a robe. We get Macho Man winning. He becomes the Macho King. There were a few years they didn't do it, but it was really just a gimmick for a house show, and I think it's actually kind of clever to do, to give these shows where normally it's just a bunch of matches that have no meaning. It gave a house show some stakes, so I will credit WWF for doing that.
Last 2 superstars in the final match will battle it out for the coveted King of the Ring trophy.
Yeah, and it is kind of cool when you can go to a house show. I know it's kind of weird that house shows don't really exist anymore, but when house shows existed, it was cool when they had a concept, when there was a tag team tournament or when there was a big battle royal at the end. So it is kind of cool when you go to this big house show and there's a tournament, and for King of the Ring, it's really cool when there's a concept behind it.
I miss WWEF house shows, like in random places. I saw WWF in Yakima, Washington at the Sun Dome. John Cena and Edge had a cage match. Like, we got to see Cade Murdoch. Those are some really great events, and it is a shame that we don't get those anymore. I do understand why having a bunch of people go to places like Yakima, Washington is less than ideal, but I digress. The house show King of the Ring would give way to the pay-per-view King of the Ring in 1993, the very first one. This is an event that I think gets remembered very fondly by fans and is one people often cite when talking about King of the Ring. I don't know if the matches were all of that good, but I think for the era, for the time, this was a very solid event, a very solid card. It did a lot of things right.
The 93 tournament is well remembered mostly because the Bret Hart matches were good. None of the other tournament matches were very good at all. How about a 15-minute Tatanka versus Lex Luger match? That's not something I want to see any day. Also, Bam Bam Bigelow versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Come on. No, that shouldn't have been in the King of the Ring. So it's more remembered than it needs to be. And 1994 is really where it starts to lose the plot.
If The 1993 King of the Ring was a single to lead off the inning. Well, 94, 95, 96, 97, they are just 3, 4, 5 strikeouts. It's just guys taking, I won't even say big hacks, but it was just guys up there hacking, flailing, and missing wildly because, as you said, the King of the Ring loses the plot here.
And they lost it very quickly. Like, they had Owen Hart winning it, and the Owen Hart winning it made sense because he was going to be facing Bret Hart at SummerSlam. That made sense. Okay. And then they made 95 the same way, where the winner would get the SummerSlam main event. It just so happened that the winner of the King of the Ring was Mabel, and the final was him against Savio Vega. Again, not a match that anybody wanted to see at the end of a 2.5-hour show. And then 96, you had Austin, which everyone remembers. But again, this was another tournament where nobody remembers the matches. They just remember the winner. And then 97, you just remember Triple H. You don't remember anything pretty much at all of that.
You're saying you don't remember that Steve Austin, Mark Merrow classic in the King of the Ring semifinals?
No.
You know what else people forget a lot is that the pay-per-view also totally loses its way because it goes from being this tournament where we're gonna have like 4 matches, quarterfinals, all that stuff. Because in 96, I think 97, it's just the semifinals and the finals that are on pay-per-view, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a King of the Ring pay-per-view if you're only gonna do the semifinals and finals and have everything else on TV. And you get that a lot with some of these pay-per-views because they're now focused on anything but the King of the Ring. And I think a great example of that is 1998. We know Ken Shamrock beats The Rock in 1998, but that match got upstaged by Mankind, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell in that first blood match between Steve Austin and Kane. That, well, the less said about that, the better. You get the idea, though. The King of the Ring was designed to be a tournament, not necessarily a one-night tournament, but it was just designed to be a tournament, hopefully to get someone over. I mean, I don't know if Kamala got over in that 15-minute match against Shawn Michaels, but it just ended up being a random smattering of mid-carders, of guys. There wasn't always a story behind it, and it just felt like less and less importance was placed on winning it as the 90s progressed.
Yeah, and especially when we get to 1999 and you get Billy Gunn as the King of the Ring winner. And I mean, Edge pretty much said everything about Billy Gunn there.
Wow, Billy, you sound like a human vacuum cleaner, managing to both suck and blow at the same time.
1999, there are like so many people. It's just none of the matches are good. Same thing with 2000, where we're just going to have a big field. We're going to have a lot of matches. We're going to say we want to elevate a mid-carder. And I mean, I guess Angle winning, maybe, but who really thinks of Kurt Angle King of the Ring winner? There was just a lot of, it just felt like an afterthought. It felt like a complete afterthought during the Attitude Era and leading into the Invasion. There was never anything you could sink your teeth into. You were getting sub 5-minute matches. You're getting a lot of run-ins, a lot of nonsense. And, well, thankfully, they mercy killed King of the Ring after 2002 and Brock Lesnar winning. I mean, like Steve Austin's career and a lot of the guys he tore through during that time, Brock Lesnar kind of killed off King of the Ring, and it was probably for the best.
Welcome to the King of the Ring Winners Club. When I won the 1999 King of the Ring,
yeah, because once you got Billy Gunn as the King of the Ring winner, then you had Angle. Then pretty much 2001 was just a big storyline that was just Kurt Angle and Edge and Christian. And it was just, the tournament was a second or third thought, really, in the whole process of things.
I vow to you that I will not Billy Gunn this King of the Ring title.
2002, yes. Luckily, we had Brock Lesnar just mercy kill it off because nobody was going to beat him that year. So luckily we had that. And then we didn't see the King of the Ring for about, 6 years after that?
It would come back in 2006, an era where creatively WWE wasn't exactly in the best place, and just dusting off things they'd done in the past was all the rage. I mean, DX reunions, anyone? The 2006 King of the Ring did give us King Booker, which he really leaned into that gimmick. I think he made it his own. Not a great tournament, though. There wasn't a lot happening. There aren't a lot of memories. You remember King Booker, but you probably don't remember much else about the 2006 King of the Ring.
No, that's exactly it. I only remember King Booker. That's it. That's all I remember from that whole run of things. And then the King of the Ring came back in 2008. And again, I only remember William Regal winning the whole thing, but it was really an afterthought on this Raw King of the Ring, because there was a Barack Obama versus Hillary Clinton match that took up 20 minutes of TV time, and it just ruined the whole show for me. So that kind of is a sour taste for me.
One man's ruined is another man's entertained. I love seeing someone who doesn't look like Barack Obama impersonate Barack Obama. Yeah, that was terrible. Though, we did get William Regal. I think he gets suspended shortly. It's around that time he obviously gets suspended, and that kills his push, because it was always believed that Regal was finally going to get that push, although I never understood why you would push William Regal in 2008. He was pretty much on the decline at that point. That aside, though, 2008 happens, it goes away, and then we get the 2010s, and WWE would just occasionally bring this out for essentially a cheap pop when they had nothing else going on. 2010, 2015, there's another one in 2019. It was basically, we don't have any other ideas, so let's just use the King of the Ring. And I mean, can you name any of the 2010s King of the Ring winners?
I think I remember King Barrett. Am I right on that one, or was that in the 2020s?
No, that is 2015, because Bad News Barrett got over so much. Vince wanted to kill that by making him king. So winning King of the Ring almost became a punishment for Wade Barrett, because he had finally gotten over. We forget Bad News Barrett was taking off. It was the Yes Movement. It was along those lines. And for whatever reason, if you get yourself over, you get punished. And we got King Barrett and King Sheamus in 2010, because we're just going to have people from the greater United Kingdom and Ireland, and people where I guess Vince would assume they were kings. And in 2019 is Baron Corbin. And we probably should have just had it go away forever at that point, because that was not good.
And it looks goofy too when you have all these guys after they just have won 2 matches on a night and they're all sweaty and tired, and you put this goofy crown on their head. It just ruins everything for them, I feel like, too. Like, for Baron Corbin, okay, it's kind of funny because he was kind of goofy by that point, but like Barrett, you kind of want to make him a bad guy, but then you just make him goofy by putting this stupid crown on his head. I just always thought that made it goofy as well. But yeah, they just never made King of the Ring matter. They would always build it up well, and people would get really excited. Like, yes, we got the King of the Ring, or finally you get something good. And then you'd get like maybe one good match, and then it would be on the WWE Network on like a Tuesday night at 8. So no one really cared to watch it. And that's pretty much what happened to this tournament after like the first or second year.
The stakes for the King of the Ring almost always devolved into, who is Vince going to put the King gimmick on? There were occasionally benefits, like you said, like in the 90s, you got the SummerSlam main event. There were other stakes involved throughout the years. Really, though, it always boiled down to Vince McMahon wanting to have someone with a King gimmick. I don't understand why, but you go King Harley Race, King Macho Man, Owen Hart was walking around with that crown and scepter. Everyone had to be a king. Sheamus, King Barrett, King Booker, everyone ends up being a king, and some people made the gimmick work. Some people just didn't want the gimmick. King Xavier Woods, and we'll get to that in a second. It's just so unnecessary. Why can't you have a tournament, call it King of the Ring, but then not literally crown or coronate a monarch? I've never really understood that idea. But let's talk about the 2020s, because we get 2019, we get Baron Corbin, and that 2019 King of the Ring tournament should have been a lot better than it was. Shane McMahon gets involved. He's a special guest referee. He inserts himself into the tournament. There was just so much crap. When you look at the lineup and you look at the wrestlers involved, that could have been absolutely epic, and it stunk to the high heavens. Then like many things with WWE, Saudi Arabia comes calling and they need gimmicks that, well, the people there remember, I suppose.
Yeah, so why not? Let's just bring them this king gimmick because they have kings there. So we'll bring them King of the Ring and we'll say that it's better than all the other King of the Rings, even though it's pretty much just the same tournament and you'll just like it.
The thing is, though, I don't know if anyone really likes it. I guess 2024 was okay. You have Gunther winning. The matches themselves were fine for WWE at this time. I don't think there was a lot of drama or intrigue around it, but it was better than most. King Xavier Woods, you could have missed me with all of that. I don't think it added anything to what he was doing or what New Day was doing or what the company needed. And then most recently, of course, Cody Rhodes becomes King of the Ring, beating Randy Orton. He'll get a title shot or something at SummerSlam. And of course, he gets to stand there with a crown in the ring. This one looking far better than the really cheap Halloween outlet, whatever crowns they bought back in the day. I mean, they were rocking some pretty cheap old crowns. I guess having a Queen of the Ring tournament has been better on that. And honestly, I think you could make a strong case that the Queen of the Ring tournament has been better than the King of the Ring tournament in the past few years. Still, though, it feels like it's being done because those fans in Saudi Arabia, you may not be able to give them Yokozuna, but they probably remember King of the Ring, and that's what you're going to give them?
That's all this is. It's just a big retro trip. That's why we have King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring, because people remember how good it used to be, but they don't remember the other 20 tournaments that weren't good. That's pretty much why we have a lot of things now in wrestling that you didn't see in the 2000s and the 2010s, but you saw it in the 90s, and now it's coming back because WWE feels like the fan base will like it now because it hasn't been around in 20 years. That's what I think is happening with a lot of things when they bring it back. Like the Royal Rumble has still managed to stand the test of time somewhat, but King of the Ring really has never been able to stand the test of time. And it's just been brought out there like some 60-year-old batter on old timers day. And they're like, here you go. Let's throw the ball underhand to you so you can get a single into the outfield. That's really all this tournament is now. It's just a big retro trip for, hey, your dad might remember this tournament, so let's go watch it together. But it's not good. And really nobody cares. I'm glad that the winner gets a world title match. So at least there's something for the winner, but yeah, it's whatever.
So we started this with trying to find the best, worst, and weirdest wrestling tournaments. And well, it's pretty obviously where King of the Ring is going to fall. It is one of the worst ones ever to have been conducted. It's not a fault of the idea. The idea is good, but like many things in WWE, the execution left a lot to be desired. Now, the King of the Ring has had its moments over the years. I'm not going to say it's been a total wash, but it has constantly lacked direction. Is it a pay-per-view? Is it for TV? Is it to help an established star tell a story? Is it to elevate a mid-carder? Do you want to create a number one contender? Do you want to just make someone a king? The answer to all of those questions has usually just been yes. Ultimately, King of the Ring has devolved into the tournament to determine which wrestler gets to have a king gimmick, perhaps the only thing fans didn't want when it comes to a wrestling tournament. Tim, do you have anything to add on King of the Ring? Because I think we both agree it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. We're trying to find something good, and really, we're digging for something here. It's a fun nostalgia trip. That's all I'll say about it. I don't want to say any more bad things about it.
No, I mean, it did give us Austin 316. So without King of the Ring, maybe we don't get Steve Austin. That's a big deal. We also don't get Doc Hendricks being in every single like Steve Austin video ever. I mean, that interview was like I can't say put Doc Hendricks on the map, but it's really the only thing keeping that legacy alive.
Yeah, it's really helped Michael P.S. Hayes quite a bit. That's true.
If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it. You can subscribe to Special Guest Referee. We'll be doing more videos about tournaments and weird matches and whatever else we feel like doing because it's our channel. And don't forget to check out Wrong Sports. That would be Tim's college football channel. You can check out my channel. That's the Touchback. Most important of all, though, if you happen to find yourself being a special guest referee, just remember,
if you're Shane McMahon and it's King of the Ring time, you can go down and referee any match you like.